What's up, everybody? Coach Mills here, coming at you with a brand new Overwatch video, and we got a lot of things to talk about. BlizzCon finally happened, and we have so much information about everything that is coming with Overwatch 2. There's changes to PvP, roles altogether, buffs and nerfs across the board, crazy story leaks, and so much. I mean, there's a lot to cover in this video, so I'm gonna break it all down. Smash that like and subscribe so you don't miss out, but then go to the GameLeap website in the links down below for everything that you need to climb the ranks of Overwatch. Right now is the time to get cracked at the game, climb extremely high, so when Overwatch 2 drops, you're gonna be so far ahead of the competition. So do yourself a favor, go check it out in the links down below. But without further ado, let's jump into the video. Now, the first thing that we gotta break down are the two brand new maps that are showcased. First is Rome, and second is New York City. Now, the Rome map in particular looks absolutely amazing, and I'm not one for aesthetics a lot of the times. I don't really care too much, but I know a lot of y'all do, and this looks pretty even to me. I love the way that they designed this map, and I'm really excited to play it. Now, New York is also a new addition, and there is going to be a multitude of maps, so I'm definitely excited to get my hands on these maps for PvP. Now, speaking of PvP, there are huge changes that are coming to PvP. They're still experimenting with said changes, but they are fundamentally changing the way that PvP plays. Don't expect the PvP of Overwatch 2 to play exactly like the PvP of Overwatch 1. They said that they are doing dramatic changes such as these that I'm going to talk about right now. So remember the CC reduction buff that Reinhardt specifically has up against CC or crowd control so he can't get booped around as much? Well, they want to give that to every single tank, and they want to make it so that tanks generate less ult charge for people that do damage to them, making it so tanks can play far more aggressive. And I'm going to talk about a Rein buff that they're adding in that's freaking nuts in a second. For DPS, they want to give all DPS movement speed buffs to make the game feel more fluid from a DPS perspective, and DPS should be able to like move around much more quickly, get that off angle, get out, and it just is going to speed up the gameplay overall. And for supports, just like with Mercy, they want to have every single support have that automatic healing. You don't get damaged for a certain amount of time and you heal automatically, so supports rely far less on other supports. So imagine like the possibilities of a character like Ana no longer has to waste her nade to self-heal, and she can save that for making a play or healing her team, and as long as she just stays away from danger, she gets healed up. And of course, characters like Mercy that already have that will probably get buffed accordingly. But all in all, they're giving role-based passives where every single role is going to have a certain passive that further distinguishes it from their counterparts, the tanks, DPS, and supports. And this is amazing for the game, in my personal opinion. Now, of course, tweaking is going to have to be balanced, and that's going to be on their end. But the idea that tanks are going to just get bullied less, DPS are going to be balanced accordingly relative to the other roles, because a big problem right now is the tanking role feels extremely unsatisfying to play, really underpowered, and unless you just did buffs all the tanks across the board, it would just feel very weird. And now you have a way to tweak every single role relative to other roles, making it so every single role is more fun to play. No role is getting bullied or anything like that, and I really love this system. Definitely let me know what you think about this for ranked play in the comments down below. Now, remember that buff that I mentioned on Reinhardt? Well, they've talked about making Reinhardt a much more aggressive based character. First off, we just talked about the buffs that he would receive from a passive tank-wide buff, but they want to give Reinhardt a cancelable charge and multiple fire strikes. That's freaking crazy. That just sounds absolutely nuts, but I'm all for making some of these tank-based characters feel way more aggressive, right? A lot of times with Rein, you have to kind of play like a bitch, if I'm being honest. You have to play really back. You can push forward sometimes, then you gotta wait for heals, and you don't really get to feel like you're going in like crazy unless you have something like Nano or whatever. But they're really trying to make it so that tanks play a lot like the traditional tanks of other games, where they go in, they take all the aggro, they want to play really aggressive, and I actually like all that. But definitely let me know. This kind of seems a little crazy, but I do like that tanks are getting a little bit of love, because I know that the tank role has been getting shafted for a long time in Overwatch. Now we actually got a little bit more looks at Sojourn, which actually looks freaking amazing. She has a railgun, which looks nuts. It reminds me of the railgun from Quake, and it looks very aim-based. I'm very excited for this character, and they said it themselves that a lot of people in the studio really loved this character. So I'm really excited to see a full reveal, hopefully before too long. Now moving on to the best news that I heard in the entire freaking BlizzCon. Jeff alluded to the fact that 2CP would no longer be a competitive ranked mode. 2CP deleted. Now we already know of the new game mode that's coming to Overwatch 2. They didn't really touch on it that much in this video, but it's looking like that game mode is actually going to replace 2CP as the predominant game mode in ranked, and I'm all for it. 2CP has to be the most problematic trash game mode that has ever existed in any ranked game. I'm not joking. It's freaking awful. I mean, I have to make an entire 20-minute guide just explaining how to play 2CP correctly without staggering, and only the people that watch said video would be able to perform that correctly. And in your ranked games, I'm sure that you've had games that felt like non-games, right? Where people just get staggered and staggered and staggered, and you never actually get to play the freaking game. And 2CP creates that so much. It is so problematic, way too complicated to play it correctly, even at a base level. Requires the amount of coordination and communication that you just don't get in a random ranked lobby. It is very frustrating, and for me personally, I'm glad it's gone. Yes, there's some 2CP maps that I absolutely love, but overall, the game mode was just not a great one, and to see it replaced, let's just say that this does put a smile on my face. Speaking of putting a smile on my face, those Widowmaker cosmetic changes, oh my god, but Widowmaker, McCree, Farah, they all got their cosmetic change revealed, and they look really freaking cool. I'm not gonna lie. I'm pretty excited for just a new aesthetic for a lot of these new characters. Overall, I don't typically care that much about aesthetic, but it does put like a shiny polish on the game, which I overall enjoy, and of course, it's a new game, so it should look new, right? Now, the next thing that we gotta talk about is the PvE, the story mode, where it actually has a lot bigger scope than I first initially thought. The story mode, they have quoted stating that they want hundreds of hero missions, tons and tons of content, and ever expanding content. So if you're a PvP fanatic, you are just going to be grinding these like crazy. Now, one thing that's really cool that I like they did about the story mode is they're going to have existing maps you can play the story mode on, but some of those maps are going to expand to show you a part of that map that you've never seen. One of the examples they gave was on King's Row, where a door would open up that was never there before. The payload would go in a completely different direction than it did in PvP, and you would see a completely new side of the map, which kind of really fleshes out the world. I really like the idea of exploring parts of the map that we've never seen before, and this actually got me a little bit excited about story mode. Now, another thing that's crazy is the really sick weather conditions. Now, as much as this winter storm gives me PTSD because my freaking water just turned back on and my power is finally on because I live in goddamn Texas, I am really excited about seeing all of the crazy weather changes. That's one thing that I always thought that Overwatch missed. It didn't really have adaptive weather. It didn't really have something that made the world feel grounded, and this looks really cool. I mean, from dust storms to snowstorms to rain, whatever we want, the game can provide it now, and for that story mode, it's gonna just make it feel a lot more like a legitimate story mode rather than a lot of the games that we play when, like, you know, Halloween comes around and we play Junkerstein Revenge or whatever. It's gonna feel like an actual story mission. We're in the snow, we're running in the game, we can't see. It's just gonna bring a lot more realism to the game, which I do like. Now, one thing they really broke down about the story mode is the insane ability adaptations in the RPG mode. The game's gonna play a lot more like an RPG traditionally. You're gonna go through missions, you're gonna level up your characters, and you're gonna unlock a lot of skills for a skill tree. Now, they showcase some rather crazy ability adaptations, like Mei being able to turn into a freaking ice ball, Soldier being able to repel enemies, and the list goes on and on. It really does scratch a certain RPG itch that I have, and I think that if they do this right, it's gonna feel really good, like an RPG that you can play as just something to play when you're not playing PvP. Another thing that's really cool is there's gonna be story mode branching dialogue, so depending on the characters you bring into a story mission, they're gonna have dialogue that is gonna be unique to to that combo of characters. Pretty cool way to flesh out the world, and there's gonna be cinematics and all that stuff. So all in all, it's looking like the full package of, if you're into PvE, you're gonna love all these changes. And going back to the PvP stuff that we talked about before, I'm really excited to see the direction that we're going here. We're not going to just see really static changes. Blizzard is going headfirst into revisiting the multiplayer aspect of the game as a whole, and I, for one, am extremely excited. As more information comes out, we're gonna break it down on this channel. We're gonna make sure to talk about what did these big buffs mean for every single character in the game in a future video, so make sure you smash that like and subscribe, and then go to the GameLeap website in the links down below. If you want to get cracked at Overwatch right now before Overwatch 2 drops, you want to set yourself up to dominate all the freaking new scrubs poured into the game, do yourself a favor, go check it out in the links down below, and you'll just be a god when Overwatch 2 drops. But thank you so much for coming by. I hope you enjoyed the video. That's all I got for you today. I'm Coach Mills, and of course, until next time.